Good evening, Warriors! Back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well this evening. I know I did one this morning. I'm going to do another one before I go to bed tonight. Been busy. I haven't had a chance to go through all the shout-outs, but I'll do that over the weekend, Easter weekend, and I'll try to kind of put some together for next week as we continue on with our battle, our day-to-day battle. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are continuing to build your conquest, and not only conquesting yourself, but obviously then things around you become a lot easier and a lot more opportunities come your way because you're a man of control, a masculine man who knows where you're going. And you don't need to fool around with a lot of nonsense in your life. All right, so the topic for today at 1 minute is going to be from our viewer friend Burning Phoenix. So Burning Phoenix, thank you so much. Made an interesting kind of comment. I liked the quote. Burning Phoenix said, "Retention is like getting sober from booze." All right, I like that. So let's talk about that a little bit because I think there's a lot of meaning behind this and something we should probably bring out. One of these key points that I want to kind of bring out. All right, so retention. So as we go on this trip, and we've talked about this many times, focusing on the fact that as a person, you, as a man of the world, you want to be someone who is respected, who's a protector, who's a provider, and someone who is a true warrior. And when a true warrior, we're talking about somebody who can do all those things that I said before, but also someone who is a man of self-control. And this means that you're able to control those emotional reactions, and you're able then to handle the addiction and be able to control yourself well enough to be able to say no when you need to. Once again, we've always said that the birds can fly over your head, but you have to let them actually nest in your head to become a temptation, and that's when you end up falling for the addiction. And so as a comment from Burning Phoenix says, retention is very similar to a lot of these breaking of addictions that people have. Most of what we do, my friends, my fellow warriors, is really habits. We learn how to do habits. We learn by repetition. So we learn to go to the bathroom by repetition. We learn to eat breakfast by repetition. We learn how to get our clothes on and off by repetition. We did it at beginning. It probably didn't work out too well. Just like riding a bike for the first time. But eventually you learn how to do that. So it all becomes habit forming. And I usually say the habits formed in 21 days. And now you become solidified in that habit. And so any kind of addiction you run into is something that's formed a habit over time. Now, we call it addiction when it's nothing's happening to you that's bad, but you could argue a lot of things are addictions. You could be addicted to video games. You could be addicted to sports. You could be addicted to cars. You could be addicted to anything. But the question we're looking at is, how can a strong masculine male who is a man of this world that needs to be strong for God, how can they overcome and say no to addictions? Because as Burning Phoenix is saying, the idea is you're really becoming sober from releasing. You're becoming sober, understanding what's happening around you, and you're becoming a lot more spiritual. You're understanding the world that we see is an illusion, that a lot of things that we see are not really real. You know, they're fake for one reason or another. We've seen this especially prevalent over the last number of years about things that people direct towards us saying, okay, this is the way it is, when in fact, that's not the way it is, but it's because of an agenda to make money, to sell this, to control this. All these type of things are given to us And we learn these things as we're younger, as we're growing up. And a lot of times, we don't really realize the environment we've been brought up in until we find another environment and we see, okay, this was not necessarily true. But I got indoctrinated within that area. And you know that certain warriors, they have no realization of what they don't know. And a lot of people are in this case. So I'm not here to judge anybody about whether or not they understand the matrix or not. But what I'm trying to do is provide information to say this is a matrix, this is an illusion, and we're all falling for that illusion, as I did, and you become addicted to the illusion. And this is why it's very similar to drinking alcohol. It's very similar to going ahead and overeating and just continue eating, right? It's the same thing as gambling, doing drugs, watching pictures, right? Images. All those things are addictions that can hurt you. Up in your brain, it can hurt you physically, it certainly can hurt you spiritually, and it can hurt you intellectually. And so when we look at this idea of retaining and not releasing, you're actually adding more back in your life, because all that stuff was going to come out of you is now being directed back in through transmutation, and now you're becoming a stronger person again, because you're not losing energy, you're keeping the energy within you and harnessing it for other things. It's a very similar type of thing we talked about in drinking, the addictions. It brings you on a path where you lose your soul, you lose your spirit, and you give up eventually because you have nothing stronger than the addiction you're under. You know, this is why a lot of people have trouble breaking addictions. You know, Alcohol Anonymous, all these type of groups that people have, trying to figure out how can you break the addiction. People go to psychiatrists and take pills, all these type of things to break addictions. Well, again, there has to be something within you to break that addiction. Now, I'll call it God, I'll call it Lord Jesus Christ in my case, but whatever God is inside of you that's pushing you to a level, the reason why you're watching these, why I'm giving these type of videos, is because we understand this. This is something inside of us that's pushing us to become excellent, to become a man of the world for the Lord, and we're becoming someone who's going to be strong and take that mantle and protect our people around us, protect our world, provide for our world, and being able to be strong enough to stand up to the evil one in temptation. And so it's important to realize that these addictions we have make you weak. They make you weak because now you become a slave to those addictions. And we talked about this in the last video. Just like you're a slave to retention. You're a slave to releasing, not retention, releasing. And so what you really want to do is gain control of this. And we talked about many ways to do this. But as Burning Phoenix said here, what we're talking about is another one of these addictions. And you can't overcome it, but the longer down the line you are. Now, it took me 47 years, so you can just imagine how difficult this was to go ahead and make this change. I had people, medical field, all kinds of fields telling me this is not a good thing. Don't hold in, do not release, do not go ahead and do these things and you'll be healthy. Well, it wasn't healthy. I was falling apart. And I knew I had to do something. And I knew I decided 1,040 days ago, something like that. I decided this is it. I'm going to make either a stand here or I'm just going to completely fall apart, and that would be the enemy. And so as I made the stand, all of a sudden I got renewed strength, renewed energy, and I became a superpower inside of myself, and I felt it. And all of a sudden I saw other types of benefits, where all of a sudden I became more focused. I became more goal-oriented again, like I was in my younger days. I felt stronger. And all of a sudden, all these women paying attention to me was incredible. Giving me compliments, winking. It's almost like you're, a 20-year-old woman winking at a 61-year-old guy. That's kind of crazy, as I thought at the time. Now, it's very common because they sense the energy. Age has got nothing to do with it. It's the energy you have that's attractive because women biologically know that you're a man. A man who has a seed, a man who's not wasting their energy away with no self-control and discipline. All right? That's that wild beast inside of you that's ready to let go, and they know it. They sense it. They sense it, and they desire that because they want someone who's going to protect them, who's strong enough, and frankly, they want somebody to dominate. And some women do that. And those are the types of things you have to understand when it comes to being a male. That your focus is domination because you are strong enough, and you have to be, to protect people and to provide for people. But the thing is as you look at this, you cannot be caught up in addictions and be dominating, because addictions run you over and the addictions control you. And so someone who's an alcoholic, they're not going to be able to control and dominate anybody. In fact, they're trying to hang on themselves, and as I was back a few years ago. So, I understand the situation. I understand the position people are in. The reason I'm doing these videos, as I always said, is to provide a little energy on my level, some experiences on my level, to kind of show you that it can be done, no matter what the age is. You can start whenever. You're going to build that energy. And I don't care if you're 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, you're going to be acting like you're 40, 30 years old, because that energy is going to continue to build. And so this is why it's important to have this self-discipline, to understand why we're on this journey. This is why God has given us this, because there's a reason why you're the man. There's a reason why, you're holding on to that seed. And once again, excuse me, guys, people see that. They understand that. They're able to understand how important it is that you are that man and that you have to continue to battle on. So again, in summary, thank you, Burning Phoenix, for being able to kind of give us a great analogy here. And the idea again is, guys, we need to learn self-control, but we need to be able to say, okay, I am not going to succumb to this temptation. I'm going to continue focusing on what I need to focus on, and I need to get into that mindset of achieving goals, being the best person I can become, forget about the women, forget about all these kind of things, and move on. Now, if you're looking for one woman, that's a little different situation. Find that woman, but look for the values of that woman, and that woman's going to help you instead of trying to sit there and look at how good looking she is and thinking about other things, and all of a sudden now you're not even focusing on the person. And yeah, you might have a little pleasure for a period of time, but now you got a lot of headaches for lots of different reasons. The major reason is you've lost energy, and now all of a sudden this other woman may not even want you because you're not the person you were before you released. Interesting. All right, thanks a lot, Burning Phoenix, for a great comment, and we'll do another one tomorrow. I think I'm going to talk about Charles Peak said something about dominated by the lower chakras. I like that one, and we'll talk about that one. And the next day we'll talk about jobs and retention, just me, and then we'll start a whole new set. All right, my friends, until tomorrow, you guys remember two things, warriors. One, every day is a new day to a great warrior. And number two, always continue to battle.